Hi everyone, this is Craig from the Rusty Fig, and today we are talking about soil mixes and how to make your own. So I just want to start this video out with a little disclaimer saying that soil mixes are one of those things that everyone's got an opinion on, everyone's got their favorite one, and everyone has a soil mix that works for them. And that is perfect. That's how it's meant to be. And that is how I got to the soil mix that works for me. Take what you can out of what people give you in terms of what works for them and modify it and change it to what works for your climate, your specific zones, your plant needs. And once you modify it, if it works, great, stick to it. If it doesn't, then you adjust, add more rough elements for increased drainage, add in some other elements that hold moisture if you need more moisture for a prolonged period. There's lots you can do to manipulate the soil. But for us, the main thing that we were looking to do is to go soilless. And the single biggest reason for that are those horrid things called grubs. They are horrible, and we've experimented with quite a few different elements that make up our soils, and anything to do with organic elements, like compost, manure, anything like that, we tend to always end up getting grubs. We've tried a couple of different brands. It just seems like it's one of those things. So we're going to walk you through the elements that make up our soil mixes, and then how to adjust it for indoor, outdoor, and then different pot sizes as well. If you have any suggestions, please comment. We're more than happy to hear what works for you. If you think something that we've done in our steps don't work or don't make sense, please open up a discussion and we're more than happy to chat about it. We're going to be posting regular updates on things like how the soil is working for the plants. We've got some in ground, some in pots. We're going to compare the different growth rates, different production, and we want to guide you through that whole process and also learn from you. Okay, so basically what you're going to need is a nice solid mixing bowl. You want it nice and solid so you can really get in there, dig deep, mix it up good and proper, so you don't have any clumps of some of the mixture of one specific type. You want it nice and evenly split out. So what is our soil? Our soil is made up of the 60-40 principle, where 60% is coco coir. But then what we do is we split up the 40% into, everyone knows this, perlite, and then what not a lot of people use are worm castings. So we take 60% coco coir, 20% perlite, 20% worm castings, and then we top up. And this is what makes our soil completely different and adds that next level to how our plants are performing. And our top up is mulled seaweed and organic flower and fruiting fertiliser pellets. So why do we have this mix? In essence, we are trying to give as much nutrients as possible to the plants without burning them, without straining any new roots or any new developments, but giving them access to a huge amount of minerals, nutrients, and most importantly, which a lot of mixers overlook, is to provide that balanced nutritional mix that gives the plants a lot of minerals and specifically micronutrients. It's very easy to top up any mix with any fertilizer. You just go and get a, pretty much like this one, and get a, what's this, a 315. Easy to pop that in. You can also use organic liquid fertilizers. If you prefer chemical, you could go that way. We don't, just because you don't have a lot of control. But what we're doing with our mix is trying to keep as much of the nutrients in the ground soil mix as possible. So what are we looking at doing here? A great tip is when you mix your coco coir, you can mix it in here initially from the dry block that you buy. Soak it in some water, let it really soak up as much as possible. Then what you do is you put the coco coir into a fabric pot. Now what this does is it allows you to drain out all of the excess moisture without having to pick it up and squeeze it and go through all of these processes. You literally just turn it into the fabric pot, lift the fabric pot up, and all the water drains out the bottom. Quick, simple, easy to use. So now in terms of the mix, we work on a 60-40 split, six handfuls, four, in the four we split into 2-2. So we'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then what we do is we very, very, very quickly go through and pick up all these big pieces of rind that's sometimes not completely broken down. Once that's done, then we take 2 handfuls of perlite. We take 2 handfuls of worm castings. That you can look at that. It's a deep, rich color, just full of amazing nutrients. 2 handfuls of those. And then in terms of our top-ups, we don't go overboard. For the mulled seaweed, it's just a half a handful. Just that much sprinkled in, and the same with the pellets, just a half a handful. So why do we do so little of the seaweed and the fertilizer? Simply, they expand. The little fertilizer pellets almost triple in size. What the seaweed expands quite dramatically. So here we have, there we go, seaweed once it's in water. You can see there's quite a bit of swelling. And what happens here is you'll feel it in your hand. It becomes slimy, and if you smell it, it smells exactly like the ocean. So you can imagine all those amazing nutrients just immediately go into the ground. And it swells and it retains moisture. But because it swells, it also allows for increased drainage. So all we do is we just mix all of this together. And then once it's all mixed together, you end up with a really light and fluffy mixture that is going to be giving your plants a huge, huge amount of, sorry for the wobble, you're going to be giving your plants a whole bunch of nutrients through this. If I hold it up, you can see there's some dark color in there from the worm castings. There's some perlite, which is giving it some good drainage, lots of coco coir. And then as you water this mix, the nutrients just keep giving and giving and giving. And then you could always top that up with your fertilizers once it's been running for a couple of months. You could always top up your mix with liquid organic fertilizer as and when you please. If you feel your plant needs more, you most definitely can. Just it's important to remember about these organic fertilizer pellets is they do run out after a couple of months, so you do need to top it up in between repotting. But what this mixture does is it allows newly transplanted plants, which traditionally have a phase of underdevelopment or transplant shock. There's a range of different things that can happen. It allows you to just, it allows your plant to just better transition. It's got the nutrients, and as soon as it has acclimatized to the new environment, it can just boost with growth. So one other thing I want to quickly touch on is seaweed. Seaweed is not a very often used element on its own, dried up. You can see these flakes are very, very small compared to the version that was in the water. Seaweed is incredibly high in minerals, and they have a very broad range of micronutrients. That is the single biggest reason why we use it. It's easy to give your plant the NPK with the fertilizers, but it's not so easy to give micronutrients which promote the overall health of the tree, root development, just overall health. So that's what we do, is we take the seaweed. You can also use the liquid form, which is really good. There are a range of different brands that do that. But if you take the liquid form, you just need to do it more often. Obviously, because then it drains out, you need to reapply it, which is perfectly fine. Just if you use the flakes, it stays in, the slower release of a more consistent release of the nutrients, and like I said, it gives you that water retention as well. So this mix we primarily use for our potted fruit plants, fruit trees, figs, and what you can do if you're potting into a bigger mix is you can add small bark chips if you want to increase the volume of your mix without having to spend quite a lot of money on the elements that make it up, like I've shown you now. So yeah, if you were to take the 60%, you could always split that into a 30% coco coir and 30% small bark chips, just to give more volume to those bigger pots. For indoor plants, we'd recommend the same mixture as what I've just shown you, but we suggest removing the organic fertilizer pellets. Simple reason, they stink. And you don't want a stinking plant inside a room or in your kitchen, bathroom, wherever you have it. So if you were to use this concoction of elements for your indoor plants, keep with the seaweed, the mix, worm castings. That is already a lot of nutrients you're giving your plant without using manure or compost. And then what you can do is to give your plant the boost of macronutrients, NPKs. You just simply give it the organic fertilizer it needs once a month, once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however, whatever plant it is, whatever your regular feeding schedule is. If you've got any questions, please leave them below. If you'd like to find out what we're doing, please visit our website. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with all of these changes, all of these updates. And yeah, if you've got any suggestions, ideas and topics you want to see from us, please let us know and we'll be happy to do that. Keep safe, everyone.